ethics, though I won't talk about who marks your paper. So, professional conduct and ethics is taught by Mr. Kamfwa Kasongo. Bookkeeping and accounts is taught by a lecturer, Mr. Shamainda. He was responsible for the Ben Lombe question. Head 3, conveyancing and drafting, is done by the former PS Mines, Mr. Mlenga Banabi, who used to be, I think, Commissioner, Lands. Probate and succession is done by the very capable and former Administrator General, Mrs. Natasha Kalimukwa. Head 5, commercial transaction, is done by a lawyer and a judge who has extremely good and highly skilled practice in commercial transactions because he worked in the commercial division at one point, Judge Willie Mwemba. Company law and procedure is now being done by Mr. Conrad Chande, head of legal at ZISC. Superior courts procedure is taught by State Counsel. How can the name go? I have to take a breath here now because I have to remember all these names before I even say them. And he'll kill me. Oh dear, I'll come back to it. Head 8, subordinate court, is taught by Judge Kelvin Muzenga, Court of Appeal. Domestic relations is done by the former WILSA, I think it's Women in the Law in Southern Africa, Director, Mrs. Maureen Thresher. Criminal procedure, as I said, is Judge Mchenga, Deputy President, Court of Appeal. Evidence and practice, as I said, is usually jointly done by State Counsel Shonga and State Counsel Lungu. So State Counsel Shonga tends to come and do the trial advocacy sessions like moot court, while State Counsel Shonga Lungu teaches the course. Now, I have to stop and go back to Superior Court procedure. Thank you, Simeza. State Counsel Robert Simeza, whom I hold in very high esteem. Don't tell him I forgot his name. Okay, so let's look at the other training programs. I like to talk about what else we do because people are fixated on the LPQE. And I always say it's not just about you. We also do take and cater to other legal professionals who have already qualified and non-legal professionals. So when you look, we have things like government contracts and procurement law, very important. Corporate governance and the law, we have criminal investigations and the law, as well as the sister course, which is advanced prosecutors. Most of our police officers, those who have work in institutions where they have powers of investigation and prosecutions, tend to take our courses. These are 1-week refresher courses. Young politicians and the law, certificate in paralegal studies, elections, public order and the law, labor law, cyber crimes, which is very popular with DEC, anti-corruption, private companies, especially banks, want to beef up their security or the knowledge of how to deal with issues around cyber security and crimes, and the issue of how to travel through evidence, forensics, how to present computer-based, criminal actions in court. These are things that are usually very unknown, and so this is our course that's quite popular as well. The human rights course, taxation and the law, very popular as well. And of course, in the middle, I left the postgraduate diploma in legislative drafting, which I emphasized is only for those who have post-qualifying experience. Right now, you have to have 1 year post-qualifying to be able to deal with postgraduate legislative drafting. I would recommend it, as I said, I have done it overall. So, other than the LPQE course, all of this that we do as well, we have a purpose at ZIALE. We have a mandate, which is in our act, and we have a job to do under the Ministry of Justice. So all of our courses are practical. So each one of these, from the course you will soon be jumping into to all of these, are designed to be as practical as possible so that you literally walk out of that classroom, whether it's after 2 days or 1 week or 2 weeks at the most, being able to go straight back to work and actually executing, knowing exactly what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to do it, what laws govern how you do it, and what you're not supposed to do. So they are designed for legal and non-legal professionals. Our job when we do these short courses, because we know we're dealing with professionals, learned people for the most part, as well as non-legal professionals, is to get you in, get you sorted, get you out, and get you doing your job properly. So we are there to enhance the rule of law, constitutionalism, good governance, and far more important than this is the ideal of access to justice. If anybody, I couldn't care whether you are an HR practitioner, you came and did our labor law, for instance. The point is, through this practical method of teaching, that you come out better equipped to understand how best to do your job, how to serve not only your company, but the Zambian public. That's rule of law. Rule of law essentially is just, in a nutshell, knowing your legal parameters and working within those. If you do, ladies and gentlemen, you are automatically contributing to the enhancement of human rights. Automatically, it goes without saying. It's a direct link to human rights. If you don't break the law in your job, you don't flout things, you don't cut corners on your policies and regulations that apply to your law, you are actually working towards human rights. That means your customer, your overall outlook, your entire organization is actually respecting rights and rules and laws and legislation, and thereby contributing really positively to human rights law. Human rights touches everything. If you are doing things within the law, you are contributing towards human rights. And access to justice. So, as long as you meet the minimum entry requirements, usually it's grade 12 for some of our courses. If it's legislative drafting, it's postgraduate, post-qualifying experience, you can come through. So, on my next slide, I think I said it as well, yeah. We can go to the next one. I think I've covered that, Mr. Mambo. So let's talk about our course examinations. All of these are questions I know everybody has, the myths around ZIALE, how people fail, what they do, what happens there. So simple. We can go to the next slide. So exams are held 3 times in a year. So we start with your mid-year, which is 25%. So it is a formative assessment that carries a mark. 25% of your overall mark falls under your mid-year examinations. The next exams you have once you come as a new entrant is the final. Now this is where our first attempt comes from. This is worth 75% of your overall marks. So the mid-year together with your final makes up your first attempt, what we like to call your first attempt. When you don't make it at first attempt, you have the repeaters examination, which is marked out of 100 all the time. So I will emphasize that results recorded are either complete or incomplete passes. Why do I say that? This is because currently you have 5 attempts. If you do your first attempt, you attempt your first examinations and you do not clear your courses, we never refer to you as a failure. We say, great, prepare for round 2. Simple. You come back to our repeaters, you sit the exams again. You may clear, or you may not. If you don't, we'll say, stay strong, there's round 3, and so forth, until you exhaust your rounds. So the word failure, which is something that is very common in social media, every time we publish our first attempt results, I don't blame them, is failure. Oh, they failed. No, they haven't. So you have this real back and forth. No, you haven't failed, but you haven't passed, but you haven't failed. Have you really failed if you've got 6 attempts? No, you haven't. Let's wait and see what happens at the end of 6 attempts. Then I'll call you a failure. Okay? So please begin to remove those words from your vocabulary now. Do not come approaching ZIALE as though it is set up to make you fail. I think with 6 attempts, my goodness, we're helping you to pass as much as possible. And even the passing, I also heard personally, don't like using the word pass or fail. It's about gaining the right competence. You've got to show that you are competent in these 11 heads and you are ready to go out and be unleashed to the general public. So if you see it, am I competent? It's a much easier question to answer. When I was saying in the boardroom we're sitting in that when I came to ZIALE, I sat for my exams, which were not as straightforward as this. When I came into ZIALE, I just said, this nonsense of exams, 2 exams a day, which killed us, I removed it. Because we sat for 2 exams. Professional conduct in the morning, bookkeeping in the afternoon. Conveyancing in the morning, the next day, just like that. It was the most stressful, horrendous. You could die, let me put it that way. It was terrible. Mid-year and finals were the same. Mid-years at my time did not count for anything. It was always the final, but it was a test run, your mid-years. It introduced you to the examination process, how your heads are examined, what kind of questions your lecturers brought, and prepared you for the final examination overall. So I flunked what people would call fail at first attempt. I did not clear all of the 11 heads. I think I had a balance of 2. I say I think because ZIALE was such a nightmare. Do you know I don't remember? It's like you're over it and you're done. Please leave me alone. I don't want to hear anything about you anymore. And I can remember a fraction of my lecturers. I think it's selective memory. I must have been very traumatized. So I was saying that we never were told we failed then. The words you failed, no. Because then we had 3 attempts and then you had the 5-year ban. So you were never told that you failed at first attempt when you did. Those words, I'm telling you, nobody came up and said, oh, you 30, because we're very few, by the way. Yeah? Out of 30 students, only 7, I think I remember 7 cleared. I think Celine was actually in my class. Remember that, I'll tell you a bit of a story about that. Celine Naye, who's now the new Administrator General, we cleared together. James Banda, who was your former last president. Who else can I remember? Maureen Thresher, who's now a lecturer. Musa Mwenye. Okay? So, they cleared, clever clogs. We stayed behind. But we never, and even their attitude was, oh, we'll see you at round 2. You know what I'm saying? It was never a heavy, horrible thing. Yes, you felt terrible. Everybody wants to pass. But then you didn't make it. You just sort of rolled over and said, okay, they tell you repeaters is going to be on this date. You start slogging and revising and you go back. So there was never this idea of failing. It was never implanted in your head that you failed. You were encouraged to keep going. You were encouraged and really encouraged, don't go up to 3rd attempt. You know, if you get to 3rd attempt, do your best. You don't want to go on a 5-year ban. That was what was said overall. And so it's surprising to me that this notion and this concept of failure has really come in. I really ask you sincerely to remove that negativity from your hearts and your minds and view this as a journey that you will want to finish sooner rather than later. So, first attempts, as I even described, my intake, 30-something, I think first attempt, 6 or 7, I can even still see them. And we went to their call day. That was the nice thing about it. We followed them. We were so happy for them. We actually rejoiced with them. And when we passed, they also came from their law firms and came to celebrate with us. And the largest group I remember was my 2nd attempt. That's when the majority of us out of that intake would leave. That hasn't changed much over the years. It is a puzzle we're trying to figure out. So right now, you are entitled to 5 repeaters examination. And the new rules now dictate that after the 5th repeaters examination, you are allowed to petition the council once. I'll come and describe all of those for a 6th attempt. Should you not be successful, we can go to the next slide, you are now excluded for life. There is no 5-year ban. People complained about it, so we took it away. And the government and various stakeholders, and it was mainly the stakeholders, we do a wide consultancy when we do this, are the ones who said, yeah, truthfully, after a certain number of tries, if you can't make it, you'll never make it. And there are some students who don't even pass a single head, who are repeating over and over, and each time, not a single head is passed. So that sort of speaks to you as an individual, does it not? Maybe law is never for you. So, these are the sections you need to be aware of. Minimum threshold for results is under Rule 24.4, and it tells you that you need to pass 4 okay, to bank the 4. Then you sit just for the balance going forward. If you don't get minimum 4 passes, you have to repeat all of the 11 heads. So some people have been in that washing machine. We're giving them a chance to rest. Perhaps study nursing, business administration, finance, you never know. So, 4 heads, and then you bank the rest. So out of 11, if I pass 4, okay, the next exam I'm sitting 7. If I pass 3, the next exam I'm sitting 4. That's how it works. It's a process of elimination. Competencies. Please remember that word. If you don't know it, look it up. You have to demonstrate that you are competent to practice in that head. If you don't, you will fail. You come back and rewrite it. Maybe you show the competencies then, and it keeps going. So, life ban is under Rule 24.5. It's called excluded. And then, as I said earlier, your attempts, first attempt, which we call the final or first attempt, Rule 24.3, 4 attempts for repeaters, that's 5 chances, and then 1 petition. Now, the petition is difficult. I'm sure you've heard, though I'm not allowed to speak about matters that are in court, yes? We are sued by 48 students who fell here. So these were the ones who had 6 and above attempts already, up to 10. So when we asked them under our student rules that you must petition the council and you must show, I think the exact words are exceptional circumstances why the council should allow you to have this one last chance or 6th attempt. They failed to show that. Simple as that, really. And that's why they were rejected. So it's not enough to say, I love law. It's not exceptional. There's nothing exceptional. That's all of you, isn't it? So what's exceptional about that? I love the law. I'm passionate about it. I'm sure you could tell me that you're passionate about it too. Okay? It's all I've ever wanted to do all my life. Well, that's why you're all here. So what's exceptional about that? Nothing. So they were not allowed to proceed, and we are sued. So let's move to the next one. The very, very important questions around statistics on enrollment, because you need to understand our open door policy, what we get in overall. So I hope you can see this, but I'll try and read it with my blind eyes as much as possible. So we tried to get data from 2017, some of it goes to 2018 to date, as much as we could. So enrollments, 2017 we had 384, 2018 367, 2018, I think this is 18, isn't it? Yes, 440, that's an error there. 2020, 424, 2021, 443. So, what's the trend? Upward increase in enrollments, yes? And we all know why. From about 2006, competition, open up the industry, let private individuals run institutions of higher learning, not just UNZA and CBU. This is the result of that. So as I always said, prior to that, in my time, you could even be 20 people in law school at UNZA, 25, 28, same number at ZIALE, etc. Which is why I think the president said it's grown so much. In those days, we knew each other, literally. If you did something wrong, you stood out like a sore thumb. So we've seen a significant increase since 2010. Now, if you recall, Zambia Open University sued ZIALE in 2009. Why, I don't know. Sometimes I ask questions about frivolous suits. Remember, the government had issued legislation around enrollment. If you look at the Act prior to 2010, the Act only allowed us to enroll students from UNZA, University of Zambia. It even said it, not even a private or public, University of Zambia. Okay, so the legislation was slow to change the Act when they already allowed private institutions to open universities in 2005-06. So we were sued because the law didn't allow us to take Open University or Cavendish. We had to follow the law. We can't, there's no exception to that. Fast forward, there was legislation in 2009 that was changed. Now the wording was from private universities and public universities, which opened the door to everybody. So the data focuses on the last 5 years. So if you go to the next slide. Okay, so first attempt pass rate. I know, it's not encouraging, yeah, it's worse here. Can you see that one? We're not proud of it, but it is what it is. Okay? So I think this is 20, which year is this one? Is it on my slide that I can see it? Yeah, 2016, 16 people at first attempt, out of 238 people that sat that exam. 2017, the year I came into ZIALE, I felt like Wonder Woman, even though I didn't do any work. 40. Out of 227, I was like, yeah, this is the trend. We're going to have over 40 people every year. And then, boom, 2018, 4. Now, it's just me and my ambience that just made 40 people pass. No, I was rudely awakened to the realities of ZIALE by that result. Then I said, let's do better. Let's educate our lecturers. They do CPD, by the way, almost every quarter. Some teaching methodology, anything that's necessary to them just to be able to improve. We worked on the syllabus. We said, let's do the syllabus. Yeah, when they have the syllabus, they're going to pass. See, yeah. 2018, 4. 2019, 5 out of 355. We did our best here. We had some brilliant students in this intake, I have to say. 2020, we had 20 out of 288. The number was low. Remember, this is COVID period, because UNZA, some universities were not ready. So we had one of the lowest numbers there overall. And then 2021, Lezipe did it. My brilliant young lady, who again highlighted what we already know are some serious issues around teaching and learning in this subject. One person studying passing is not great. There is no lecturer who would tell you that that was a great result. There will be many lecturers, fun enough, who look at their heads and say this was a good result. Domestic relations, for instance. Majority of students passed here. Majority of students passed criminal procedure and evidence, but they just didn't get all of the 11. Okay? So she was the only one who somehow just managed it. And with very good results, I have to say. Her scores were very high in percentage rates. The value add, we could tell. The value added from mid-year, we analyzed results like that, through to the finals were also very good for her. But when we looked at the entire intake, the value add had dropped. Meaning, between the time you come into ZIALE, you write your mid-years, and then you write your finals, there's supposed to be an improvement, yes? If you are at 52% at mid-year, you should really be 59, 65. That's value added. We've taught you something, and you're clearly able to demonstrate that through your examination. The overall value add during that year was very poor. We had the lowest rates of passes. People were getting 2%, 0. 1%, it's very concerning when you see the quality of the grades was just very bad. And we really needed to find out why. So we did a survey amongst the students at mid-year. We smelt a rat at mid-year. We knew this was going to be a disaster at mid-year. We did a survey and it brought out a huge amount of information data. So there's a standard survey that's done, but I designed another one now, which really focused on what are your issues. And I wanted the students to answer them. So I did an open-ended one. Just 5 things that you found worked for you and 5 things that didn't. And surprisingly, those results were extremely telling. Online teaching, this year was the year they did from beginning to end. I think we tried to do a residential, but COVID came badly. We had to cut it off. And online was a problem. The level of focus required, dedication. Online is a funny thing, And when you look at, when you sort of do a voyeur into a class that's online, you'll be shocked at what people are doing. I've seen people jogging, people in the mall, people driving. people eating, people in restaurants. And I don't know why they like to switch on their videos. I don't know. So you see that there's a real lack of focus when it comes to online classes. Unlike here, when you're all sitting here physically, you have to be here. There's probably a register, isn't it? So you have to be here. And you have to pay attention because you can't go off and start watching Netflix, your small screen for your Zoom and the rest of it is Netflix. It can't happen like that overall. But we've seen this, and it's a real struggle. For most of our students. And I'm not saying this from not having experience. Like I told you, I graduated from legislative drafting just this year, and that was online, and boy, was that a struggle. To state, there's so many better things you can be doing. I can be cooking for my family, and I'm listening, and I'm cooking, I'm multitasking. But no, you're killing yourself. You're not focused. You forget that even with online classes, you're supposed to sit at a desk or a table with your notes and your books, and you listen and you write. No, somehow we treat it like a podcast, Some of you probably were in, some people were probably in bars. As long as my name is there, I'm attending, I'm okay, And the result is real. We saw this issue across the jurisdictions as well. Ghana, South Africa also had abysmal results as a result. They named COVID, they named online classes, all kinds of things. But we're not here about pointing fingers. It's about finding solutions. How do we solve this problem? Because COVID is still with us. We don't know what's going to happen now in the cold season. We may still be battling and tackling this issue as we go forward. So it was not a great result at all. And we did introspect. We are not a lazy institution. As I said, our research found with a questionnaire highlighted a number of issues with certain lecturers, a lot, let me put it that way. And a lot of it, sadly, mostly about 70% was about the students themselves. They were so honest, so honest. Some of them blamed their personal life, for real, no jokes. And quite a large percentage, they are distracted. Girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife, children, mother, father, father-in-law, they were saying these things. So if a student is actually willing to say, my personal life, when I'm doing my Zooms at home, is so distracting, my wife, my kids, it's the truth of their situation, which is why I just wanted 5 very honest, no names, nothing anonymous, etc. It just helps us understand the perspective of the student better, and also helps us to see whether we can solve these problems overall. So as the good State Council and President of LAS said, that we have had some successes. For us at ZIALE, we count up to almost 3,000 lawyers that have gone through our doors, okay? LAS will count how many lawyers are members, yes? Now remember that there are many lawyers who are qualified who do not have to be members of LAS to work. Those who work in government offices, they don't have to pay. They don't have to be on the roll, LAS membership, no. So there's a huge amount of lawyers who work in NGOs, NPA, Attorney General's chambers, all of that. Judiciary employs quite a large number, but they don't have to be LAS members. So we have a number that's closer to 3,000 lawyers that we've trained. And it could be just slightly below that if you consider deaths, retirements, etc., from its inception in 1968. So during a 5-year period, which is what State Council Shonga emphasized, we actually trained 1,215 lawyers. That's a huge addition to the role, which is now inching closer to 1,800. So out of the people we've trained, 43.2% are males, and 56, I see you, are females. There's something about law that we ladies seem to gravitate towards over the decades. We love it. So, my next slide is the repeaters pass rate. Okay, this is now the combination class. Everybody who has flunked at first attempt is in this particular pot. So, from what I can read, and my eyes are so bad, this is black. Right, so from 2016, 148 out of 448. In 2017, 312 out of 615. This one was the controversial one, if I'm honest. This is the one where our former president's daughter was here. And I remember That's why I tell you, please don't read the press. They're just so ignorant, it's terrible. The story was that this was a first attempt examination, and we had 312 passing at first attempt. The young lady flunked one course at first attempt, and she came in at repeaters. Something that somehow, for those naysayers, is very hard to accept. But yes, that's the year, 312, 615. Then we had 194 in 2018 out of 600. Have you noticed how it's increasing? The numbers at the bottom here keep going up. And in 2019, 202 out of 731. We did not have a repeaters this year, COVID. We usually have them within the year. That's when now repeaters moved to the next year. So we had our repeaters here, which explains the jump. 852 people sat for these exams, 259 cleared. 2022 statistics is not here, but they were just under 1,000 repeaters that sat from 4th of April to 20th of April this year. Their results should be coming out in July of this year. So the numbers are increasing. You are increasing. There are 22 institutions in the country that are registered with HEA to offer law. 22. Did you know that? Do you even know these universities? I don't know. Okay. About 12, 13, including Cavendish, are the only ones who are currently supplying us with you. I was going to say something terrible, but we're supplying us. You are our clients. Okay? So we open our doors to you. There is still 10 more universities out there. I don't even know at what level they've reached of offering law as a degree. Are they about to have graduates next year? This year? I don't know. Who are joining in. I'm happy to see places like Rockview. We were so chuffed when Livingstone International, when it came through. It's really exciting when kids come through. NIPA, the first, we even had a first attempt, isn't it, at NIPA. So when they start graduating and they're coming through and suddenly we're growing from UNZA to Unilast and Cavendish and Mulungushi, and then suddenly NIPA comes in, and then the private sector also comes in, Lutibem and, Rockview. It's really exciting. And when we're doing our applications, we always cheer. We do cheer. Oh, yeah, they've come. But it also comes with a price. We are very much aware that as an institution, we have a lot to do. Our infrastructure is terrible. Our government is aware of it. We do our best with it. I think that as an institution, we could do with more funding to assist us to generate more of this access to justice, not just through the LPQE, but through our short courses. Most people will tell us that we have a great deal of money. We don't. Our government funding accounts for less than 15% of what we need to survive in a year. So we strive, and we do it well, to make money through our short courses, which keeps the institution going. So this is the reason why we call for more funding, so that we can improve our operations and our output across the board, not just for you as future LPQE students, but everybody else. So when you are faced with statistics like this, overall, for me, the scary number is not so much here, which is those who have passed and admitted to the bar, but here, those of you who are coming through. And I always ask the question, why is law so popular? Why are you also very keen to study law? I think we can tackle that a little bit later. So let's look at the call to the bar. So, as I said, our number is close to 3,000 that we know have been called to the bar. They may or may not be practicing. But the statistics also speak for themselves. Overall, at 2021, 248, we have these long call days, which I am curious to hear what the judiciary will do, especially with almost 1,000 repeaters who wrote, and the likelihood of having a huge number being called to the bar. One of the things we're also criticized about is the call day. One thing you have to understand, that our job ends at the bar examination, publication of the same. Thereafter, the job is passed on to Laz, who tends to organize the Sherry party, etc. And of course, the judiciary, who actually holds the ceremony, the court day session, the court session at the Supreme Court at a date they tell us. So we tend to just write to the judiciary, we're done, we did the results, there's so many people, can you tell us when? And then the Chief Justice tends to respond. He checks his diary and says, yeah, these dates are good, we know, we come through, and that's it overall. So please, if things go wrong at court day, it's not us at all. So let's talk about the challenges, and this has a lot to do with the quality of all of you coming through and the demand for quality that you must actually have here and now. Not when you're at ZIALE, now, okay? Forged grade 12 certificates and law degrees, believe it or not. There are cases currently ongoing in court with students who have caught out here. And of course, the age now of Zambia Qualifications Authority has helped to mitigate this, because now they authenticate your grade 12, they'll confirm, validate your LLB, whether it's local or foreign. Okay, they take some time, I hear 2 weeks turnaround, but they'll do it, okay? So we have issues of forged grade 12 and LLB, and then we have qualifications from universities outside the common law jurisdiction. As I said earlier, civil, Dutch, unless you're a Commonwealth country, but we don't allow, okay? We don't allow, civil law degrees are not permitted. The law said so, and until the law changes to just be open, we have to restrict. Other problems are qualifications from universities not registered and accredited with the Higher Education Authority. Understand that we cannot permit you if you are local and you don't have that tick, and neither can we permit you if you don't also have your qualifications on the Zambia Qualifications framework. Failure to meet the threshold subject of 5 O-levels, including English and mathematics, is still a problem. I will lie if your university does not produce students who don't have a full grade 12. You do, and we deny you entry at ZIALE. Why are you here, and how did you get here? Why are you in this room, if you know yourselves, which I'm hoping is not the case anymore, and how did you manage to do that? Who let you in? That's the question I always have every year when we do admissions, and we have like 20, 25 students we are cutting off because they didn't have the full grade 12. Or they completed the law degree without an English O-level. Who does law without English? It's bad enough that we've let go of maths, but it's not English. And then when I make a statement like, ZIALE students' majority do not know how to construct a sentence, you cry foul. But how did you get into university without your minimum entry requirement as set by HEA? How? So, Cavendish, we've had some before in the past. UNILAS, we've had, the only university we never have this issue with is actually UNZA. Mulungushi, the public universities, let me put it this way. So I sincerely hope this is a trend that is not here, because now we've also started to report universities that do so to HEA so that they can deal with them from their end overall. But it is a problem. I can come back at the end of our application process and tell you again we found some. And then, you know, despite the fact that we advertise our minimum entry, 5 O-levels including English at credit and above, people with 2 O-levels still they hope we'll miss it. Oops, we missed it and you're in. No. Okay, they still apply, which is weird. So again, what I said about demanding standards from your university. When we first started meeting with universities, 2017-18, I did tackle this problem. And I did say there's no harm. Universities across the world, I lectured in the UK for a long time, will admit students who do not have English or maths. What the learning institution does then is provide tutoring, facilities. They even become a grade 12 examination center and make sure that you actually write English and maths before you graduate. So demand for such things from your universities. Why should Cavendish not be a grade 12 writing center? Why shouldn't you, if you didn't do maths or you didn't do English or any other subject, not take tutoring alongside your degree program so that the universities make sure that you are ready for the world? And remember that for postgraduate study, that requirement will also haunt you, English and maths. So, some of the things we're trying to do to assist with our pass rate is the manual. So we are writing manuals like the accountants do to assist you. So this is going to be like a textbook of some kind covering every single, one textbook for each head, which we're hoping to complete by the end of this quarter of 2022. So those who are enrolling in 2022, we're hoping that you will come and you also receive the manuals. They'll form part of your fees. So you just get them as you come through for you to utilize in your studies. So let's look at these myths that we all know about, people talk about constantly. ZIALE is run by a cartel of lawyers. They are restricting the numbers coming in. People have argued with me before to say enough. 1,200 and something over the time you've been there. Too many lawyers out there, stop it, okay? But where is this argument coming from? Before I get there, let me just say there is no cartel. The government of the Republic of Zambia cannot permit cartels. We are a government, we are a public body, we are a statutory body. How can we have a cartel? Our very creation was to ensure that we have sufficiently qualified legal practitioners in the country so that everybody has some level of access to justice, whether at high court, subordinate court, or even in mediation, arbitration, ADR, to put it in a nutshell. That's our job. Our targets are nationwide targets. When you look at the Ministry of Justice targets for ZIALE, when we're doing our 8th National Development Plan, for instance, these are the issues that we discuss. Currently, statistics show there are so many, a lawyer to so many in the population. We need to sort this out. How can they be a cartel? Our chairperson is the Attorney General of the Republic of Zambia. He sees everything we do, not from what you see, but even deeper, what we spend on, our procurement, our HR, everything. He understands how we run the institution. Our lecturers undergo interviews before they are even appointed. Our criteria for appointing lecturers is experience. Practical experience is number one. We are a practical course. We need practitioners. When people apply to lecture at ZIALE, we do get a lot of lecturers applying. We always put those aside. We don't want theorists. They're good at their job at undergraduate when they're teaching your master's program and your PhD, but they don't do well at ZIALE. And mainly because their lives, as it should be, is focused on academia, isn't it? Very little practice. So we don't take them. We take them out of the selection process almost immediately. We don't consider them. I think we've considered one or two because they had extensive private practice as well. But otherwise it's practice. How else is someone going to teach you to practice if they're not practitioners themselves, if they're not up to date? So how do we help you under teaching and learning? We have courses. We work with TVTC, TVETA, CDC to train, Curriculum Development Center, that is not the disease one, to train our lecturers in small snippets of teaching methodology. Small snippets, exam setting, how to deliver online classes, small things that just help them improve how they teach, because they do not have the full teaching certificates or qualified teacher status as most of your lecturers have. So there is no cartel. Nobody is trying to restrict the numbers. The issues surrounding pass rates are wide and varied. And as you've noted from what I've said, they start with us, infrastructure, etc. We can tell what we need to do, and we do our best to sort it out. But there's also stuff that is equally outside of our control. The quality and standard of your undergraduate degree. How great is it? Have you taken the responsibility to compare? What are your friends doing at UNZA? UNZA likes to boast. A few years ago, I remember they used to boast. We write assignments for people at Cavendish. Is it true? But where? They They come and spill the beans. You know me, I used to write for students at Cavendish. They pay me. That's why we hate continuous assessment at ZIALE. It's dangerous. So, you know, how have you compared your degree program to others in the country, to Zimbabwe, to South Africa, Nigeria, the UK, Commonwealth countries, Malaysia? Do you discuss with students who do their degrees outside, what is it that's so special about their degrees? What could you do to assist your university or demand for change in your own university? These are things I would encourage you to do. So look towards what you're learning. See how you're learning. How well are you learning? Are you the person who asked the UNZA graduates to write an assignment for them? Do you actually do your own continuous assessment? These are problems that we have. We heard stories a long time ago about people even sneaking to an exam room and writing exams for people. And then you come to ZIALE and there's no room for that. And then you run into problems. So no cartel. This accusation or this terrible cloud has been over us for a long time, and it is it's demoralizing when they think that the hard work that is put in not only by myself and my members of staff, but even the lecturers is controlled by some invisible person who doesn't want lawyers out there. It is not true. If you want to talk about cartels, perhaps look at other jurisdictions where perhaps one, the pass rate is a bit suspicious, or two, the fail rate is equally very high as well. I had the privilege of talking to people, deans and faculty heads and private lawyers in other jurisdictions in Africa, and their issues are really terrible. Truly, you do not want ZIALE to get to that stage, and it will never will. You can trust that. The second one that gets you is the fear factor. It's something when I was sitting upstairs in the boardroom was coming across very strongly. Oh, we're so afraid of ZIALE. Oh, ZIALE is so fearful. It's like some place where you just go and get destroyed and obliterated and all kinds of stuff. Fear is good. I think anyone who approaches anything without some level of fear is likely to fail. Fear spurs you on. Fear should make you read more, should make you really be determined to go through it and conquer that fear. So having fear, in my personal opinion, is not a bad thing. I'm nervous about coming to talk to you. I had some fears. I went through my presentation to make sure I tried as much as possible to make it relatable. I said I'm not going to read or lecture. I'm going to talk to you rather than do that. And so I had some fear, and I prepared, and I came through. So is fear bad? No. Not all the time. When it is crippling, okay? When it stops you from sleeping at night, when you can't even function normally, it moves from fear to now anxiety. Now those are mental stress issues, okay? So we're talking about something entirely different. Should you have that when you're coming to ZIALE? No. Have no fear. Have no fear. Did you fear when you came to your undergraduate studies? I'm sure most of you could not wait to get out of your houses to get here. So why can't you have the same attitude at ZIALE? Because you should be looking beyond ZIALE, shouldn't you? Yes, I'm going to come to ZIALE, I'm going to absorb and learn as much as I can so that I can be prepared to be the best lawyer I can when I leave that place. Do not approach it with fear. Fear at that level can be crippling. Don't be afraid. So, your attitude. Preparation, number one. How prepared are you? This applies to what you're studying now and what you know about where you're going. How many people, even at your first year in law school, even checked ZIALE website? How many read our reports, annual reports, just to see what the heck goes on at ZIALE? How much money do these people really make? Huh? How much do they spend on the LPQE? How much do they make on the training courses? How many of you look at our annual reports on our website? How many of you read so you even understand what the examinations unit said, what the programs and planning and admissions say, what is really going on at ZIALE? What are their challenges? Let me read when they say challenges and recommendations. They're all in the annual reports. How many of you have actually looked at our rules, our acts, that you know that we're run as a statutory body? We have an independent board referred to as a council chaired by the Attorney General. The alternate is the Solicitor General. We've got judges, accountants, HR practitioners, deans of law schools on our board. Are you aware of who we are? Did you look at the student rules, especially when everyone is talking about the time we changed them, when they were signed, the Student Rules 2021, attached to our beloved Act? How many of you actually said, I'm curious, I want to read it? Not those short sound bites you get on Facebook, not because somebody else told you what's going on there or what changed, but you read it yourself. You read our rules carefully and you understood what was coming up ahead. How many of you were aware that we had 11 heads and what those heads were? How many of you have gone to the website to try and look for our syllabus? So that you understand, when I'm doing family law, this is what I'm not doing and what is expected for me when I'm doing domestic relations and probate at ZIALE. Can I use all that information to challenge a conversation again we had upstairs, my university, about the quality of my fourth-year degree? My fourth year should not be too theoretical. Should I not be doing some practical exercises, more support procedure, things like that? Are you using that knowledge to say, hey, university, I'm in my third and fourth year. We're not doing anything that hinges on the ultimate end goal of my career, which is to practice law. So theory is great. Don't get me wrong. We all need that foundation. But when do you start transitioning to understand the practical? Because all of you in here are not going to be professors, are you? Most of you are aiming to practice. And the law degree is just the first step towards your practice, which is your end goal. So challenge your universities a bit more. The second one I want to talk about is confidence. How confident are you when you come? Appearances are everything. That's why I said to the lovely young man, I love the bow tie, but it would just never do. I understand where he's coming from. I can tell who he is just by looking at how he dresses. And I trust he'll be a performer at ZIALE. There's just something about him. He wants to stand out. He wants to feel like he's unique. He wants to pop wherever he's going. Sadly, we don't like poppers at ZIALE. So you can't be that unique. You can't be that special. We are all like this. I remember I challenged a group of students that were so badly dressed. I think they were about 16 or so girls. Around 2018, mainly girls, sadly. We took them out of the class, went into what was the legislative drafting room at the time. It was a small lecture hall. Sat them down. And I remember saying, you don't have the privilege that your friends have. I know how painful it is when you're a friend who's doing a management trainee course at the bank, when she's dressed with her shoes and... No, that's not you, sadly. Yours is a life of court shoes. Because sooner or later, those pointy, long, high heels are going to kill your back. And you're going to go to Bata and buy these kinds of shoes. Sooner or later, okay? It happens. It's not even by choice for some of us. It's by force. If you see me on a normal day, my shoes are flat. I have back problems. That's the problem with professional ladies. We're forced to wear high heels, which cause problems in future, coupled with being slightly overweight. So, we don't do that. Do you know where you're supposed to shine? In the courtroom. In your work. You become outstanding in that manner. Not in your dress. So 2018, I gave them example. Went all the way to Sydney, the privileges of the job. IBA, International Bar Association, which, by the way, I think most of you, especially in fourth year, you can apply for it. You can actually get full sponsorship to go to an IBA through the website. Just look at it. There's an application process. You have to write a simple essay about a very pertinent issue, and voila, you win flights, accommodation, and pocket money to the International Bar Association, the most amazing yearly conference on earth. And just for incentive, this year it's in Miami. Woo! I can't wait. Welcome to Miami. It was the first time that's the first thing I did when I saw that. I called my sister, it's Miami! And I started singing Will Smith. I know some of you probably weren't born. He did this song, Welcome to Miami. Anyway, so we went from the auditorium. There are about 4,000 to 6,000 lawyers across the world. Okay? Great networking opportunity. You learn so much from peers, people in the same division, those who are interested in the same courses, etc. Brilliant, organized, brilliant. I couldn't praise it any further. So, at the end of that auditorium in Sydney, it was by the harbour, we were going for boat rides. Nice cruise around the harbour, beautiful. And all of us were walking out of this auditorium. We're talking about over 5,000 lawyers. What do you think I was looking at? Penguins. Grey, black, navy blue. It's a uniform. That's all. A sharp, smart, clean uniform. That's all it is. It was just a sea of blacks and blues. In fact, the only people who were looking bright were those jurisdictions. I think Indonesia, Malaysia, they wear their traditional. Beautiful traditional. They're the only ones who were standing out. Everyone, Africans, Asians, Americans, Europeans, lawyers, penguins. So why are you trying to break the mold? Why are you trying to break the mold? I will jump this one and go to, don't change it because that's the last point. Let me tell you a little bit about decorum. So, has anyone heard of the practice directions? These are the rules of your dress code. Female advocates, it's there, it's written. You'll find it a lot in the judiciary's directory. Yeah? It's actually a rule which you must abide by. A black gown, white blue stripe or red stripe, long-sleeved, collarless blouse. Okay? You have a still white wig collar and white bands, black, navy, blue, or dark, not the funny shades of gray, dark gray skirt with a matching coat. It's 1977 that you have to wear. Okay? Men, same thing. Stiff white wing. You know, a few years ago, there was even a director at ZIALE who used to check how stiff your collar was. You had to starch your collar. We've relaxed a bit, so mwila to danda wila sana. Then, in 2003, they were reviewed, these practice directions. So now, the Honorable Chief Justice has directed that court dress for female advocates in the Supreme Court, High Court, Subordinate Court, as per Practice Direction number 3 of 1977, shall be amended, lucky you, in both A1 and B1 by the inclusion of the following. Long trousers. I love this one, because those 3/4 will kick you out. Long trousers and jackets of a similar colors prescribed for male counsel. Trousers should not be tight-fitting. Slim fit. Slim bane. It's not allowed. It's trendy, but it's not allowed. Okay? Trousers and jackets should not be tight-fitting, and preferably, okay, the jackets should be long to go below the waist. I think there was a time in those days where we had to make crop jackets. They had to write this because we're all going crazy with those ones, I'll tell you for free. But sadly, fashion is not upheld in court, but quite frankly, I think that fashion is very much prevalent in the legal profession. I think our dress code is so sharp, so clean. Those white shirts, those starched collars, those pinstripes, okay? Those navy blue, dark gray trousers and skirts, all of which must be at the knee or below in length. I always say that. And that's another thing I kept telling my students when I came back from Sydney. I never saw a single woman wearing a suit with a skirt that was mid-thigh. Nobody, okay? So please stop trying to force that agenda, unless you want to go and work for a bank, okay? So, the dress code is who we are. It is part of this idea that we are sober, we are serious, which we should be, and a client should expect nothing less from us. That's all as simple as it is. So the soberness will never leave world over this profession. It doesn't matter where you may end up working when you finish and conclude. You will always have this dress code following you around. And there is no country that I have been to where the dress code is still not a big issue. And people automatically just adjust to that dress code, obviously. So, dress appropriately. Have confidence that you can do it. If you can manage to pass your grade 12, you can come through to, no matter what the challenges are at undergraduate. I was telling the story of how I flunked at third year. I had some serious personal issues, just did not do anything at all in my exam. I got excluded at UNZA, had to come back and repeat. No matter what your challenges are, if your prize is on the ball, you come back, dust yourself off, keep marching ahead. You come through to ZIALE with the same confidence, your ability to be able to overcome strife, your ability to work hard, revise right, produce and excel at school. And when I say excel, I'm not just talking to the A-star student, I'm even talking to you, the C students. You and me. Yeah. I didn't pass with a merit or distinction. Me, I was just Ann Malata. The proof is in the pudding, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? So, please, just work hard. Confidence. Know you can. The same way the same A-star student next to you can, so can you. Stay consistent. This is a big problem at ZIALE. Consistency. Fast, meaning you get tired very quickly. By the time you're hitting the end of, people are, I'm tired. Oh, this is so hard. I'm doing a female voice. No, it's hard. I can't do it. It's not just women. Okay, men complain. We always do a whiny voice in the female voice. I don't know why we do that. So, stay consistent. Hit the road running. I think those two come together. Please put that one up as well. Consistency goes together with hit the road running. This is what I knew when I came to ZIALE. It was tough. It's hard. It's a trial by fire. No one is telling you it's not. There's no professional examination, including the accountants, that will tell you it's a breeze. It's a lie. Confidence, hit the road running, stay consistent. Don't come to ZIALE thinking in 3 months' time or after Christmas, then I'll do my best, then I'll start attending all my classes. No, it doesn't work. From the moment you start, even before you come, preparedness. Be ready for what you're finding. Make sure that with the first class, second, third, everything is the same. Level of listening, ask questions. Ask your principal at your law firm. What does this mean? How do I do this? When the lecturer said this, what does it? Ask. Read. Most importantly, follow your lecturers, your principals to court. Know how to behave, conduct yourself, the procedure in court, which is necessary for your exams. So remember that when you go to your law firms, they are teaching you the very important practical side of this course. Don't skip that bit. So, preparation, confidence, hit the road running, stay running, collapse with exhaustion when you know you've cleared. That's how we all did it. We were exhausted Micah flat, because I was a magistrate, so I had a flat at a very young one as well for that matter, just in case you're wondering, in Thorn Park. I would have been in my early 20s. I was appointed as a magistrate lay, class 2, Thorn Park flat. It was plastered in post-its. Everywhere, toilet, shower, the kitchen. You fed off the course consistently. Everywhere you went, you did something that reminded you of something. If you're sitting at a restaurant waiting to eat, you're dawdling, you're drafting a statement of claim. It was weird like that. And sometimes it's not necessarily the body, sometimes just sat in the High Court of Zambia, between the shan, just consistently doing this over and over again. Avoid distraction. That's the next one. Yeah, and it's hard. You know why it's hard? It's because some of you here are probably like what? 19, 20, 21, no children, but you still have boyfriends and girlfriends. Tell your family to leave you alone. I swear. Tell them, leave me alone. Don't tell me about that problem. Please, just if I'm not paying attention to you, my sweethearts, it's because I have to focus. I'm not saying don't have a life, but unfortunately your life may be restricted just because you're at ZIALE. There's a real need to focus there. Don't get entanglements. Will Smith. They will distract you. Trust me. They will really throw you off your game. Before you know it, You're at mid-year, you fail, things just go downhill. So try to avoid the distractions. Do not, complete hunger strike is not best. Still go out. Have a drink with your friends. Go to church. Meet socially. Go and visit people, have a laugh, relax. Because you need that. If you can, get a therapist. Mental health issues are real. Go and talk to someone about how you're hating it, how it's troubling you, how much pressure you feel. My parents just demand this. My wife expects me to, she wants that nice, there's so much pressure everywhere. Have the outlets. Don't be too studious either. Have outlets, be able to go somewhere. I used to always go to my older sister's place. My brother-in-law had been the one who brought in Blockbusters, so there was always videos and stuff to watch. So I'd do a little stint just to relax. Sometimes you just need to do nothing. And the like, do that, but don't do it throughout the whole year. Manage your time well. Please, please. I was saying, find your focus. All of you in here, the reason you're in here is because you've got a focus, which is your LLB. Find your focus and focus on your focus. That's it. That should be a mantra for you at ZIALE. Forget everything else. Forget. I was, for me, I think ZIALE, because, as I said, I passed with a mere pass, I was very conscious of the fact that I was very bright, but I wasn't very good at school. Theory was great. I love reading. I love researching, so don't get me wrong. But I had even initially not wanted to do law. So I had a lot of issues around this subject. I had to come to it, learn to love it and appreciate it, and begin to understand where I'm going with it overall. So some of you may be in the same boat. Some of you may not necessarily have the confidence of having the academics. You see my friends at undergraduate seem to read everything. They know the case law. They even know which page on the Cheshire and 5 foot. And you're like, hey. So I get you. But like I always emphasize, the proof is in the pudding. Okay? So try to remember your own weakness. You know yourselves. You even know how well focused you must be when you're meeting a challenge like the Legal Practitioners Qualifying Examination course. So adjust your life accordingly. Simple, really. And stick to it, no matter what. Another important one, if you can open it, attachments. I said it before. If you don't have good attachment at a law firm or an organization with a strong, good legal department, with a good principle of prescribed standing, who can teach you, who can show you, you have a problem. 50% of passing ZIALE is this thing here. The practical experience that you get from your workplace. If you don't have it, understand that you are really digging a hole. Yes, you may hear stories of me, I didn't even do attachment. Yeah, they're there, but that's not you. Remember, when you have a good law firm, whether it's a small one, it's a big one, if you have a dedicated principal, someone who really wants to listen to you, who's got time for you, who takes you to court, makes you sit down in the conference room while they interview a client and you're listening and you're taking notes, because remember, taking notes means you're picking up the important things that that client is saying. All of those things, they give you letters to draft. They tell you to go to Lands and lodge this one. They say, go to Pakra and do this, because those come in the exam. They come, this is a practical course. Going to Pakra, where you lodge, how much it costs, is in the exam. So don't think that Lands, all of those things, how much does it cost to do a title? All of those are in the exam, because it's practical. We need to know that you even have some experience in conveyancing of going to Lands. You know what to do there. You know which office to go to. You know how much you pay. They're in the exam. So, that person, that principal, male or female, is a treasure. My attachment was at Christopher Russell Cook and Company. In a way, I was very lucky because at the time, our conveyancing lecturer, Mr. Soli Patel, was also working there. So every couple of days of the week in the mornings, I would go to the back room where he sat and he'd talk me through conveyancing. Practical stuff, because he's doing it. Okay, I had Mr. Ngenda, beautiful principals. These guys, these two gentlemen who'd look after me were amazing. Now, I know there are challenges around attachment today. Those numbers I was showing you, 443. How many law firms do we have available? Laz would have answered that. Not nearly enough. The beauty of online classes is that it allows you to work anywhere. So we have currently students in Livingstone, as far down as Livingstone, as far up as Kasama. We inspect these law firms. We come and pay you a surprise visit. Hi. And everyone panics whenever you walk in. But we do, just to see how you're doing. What are the facilities available to you? How well are you working? What are your conditions of work like? We report the same to LAS, because they can do something about their members if they're not doing their bit. We ask qualified lawyers to give back. And the way they give back is through attachment. They train you. You are their pupil for the time that you are there. And you go to court with them. How court works for you at ZIALE is that once you are enrolled, you have an ID, your principal writes to the registrar in the court, introducing you, his firm, that you are attached there, and that gives you that audience, that right to go with him into courtrooms and into chambers. That is only valid for the 1 year of the course. After that, repeaters, if you ever see a repeater in a courtroom, they are doing it illegally. They're not allowed. And it's not from us, it's the courts that tell us. They're the ones who say, we will give your students passes for the period that they are students, but it doesn't extend to when you're a repeater. It ends at your first attempt overall. So your principal does all this for you once to join the firm. They give you the right of audience, meaning that you can now go freely to the subordinate courts, high courts, supreme court, all of that, as long as you're with your lecturer, of course, your principal rather. So once that's done, it's done. Please follow these guys wherever they go, these women. Watch how they conduct themselves in court, how they speak to the court, what the procedure and the processes are in court. How does it start? When they adjourn, and then it continues. If you're lucky, you see more than one case from birth until verdict at your law firm or law organization. Where you work somewhere where you are not exposed to court, ask your principals to take certain days off, maybe even Friday, to say, can I just go to court? Friday morning you sit, if you've got no lectures that day, sit down. In the subordinate court, watch how the magistrates operate, watch how the lawyers operate, move to the high court, sit down there just for a while, just watch the procedure. You need to know it, because it does come in the exam overall. So attachment, which also applies to mentorship, is really, really key. Find somebody who's already a qualified lawyer. They may not be your principal, someone you can talk to. Sometimes it's even to vent to. Like I said, don't underestimate mental issues, especially at ZIALE. Sometimes you feel as though you're just on the brink. It feels like that. We've all been there. The pressure is very real. The classes are, demanding. Your principal is demanding. You had hardly any time to yourself to breathe. So it can be very, very disturbing. The last one, as I mentioned before, decorum. I talked to you about your dress code. Unfortunately, that's what it is. So I also don't like the Barack Obama. No, is it Barack Obama? No, it's Trump ties. I don't like them. Red, no. Please don't come to ZIALE with a red tie. Integrity is another one. There are many of you currently here and at ZIALE who are passing yourselves off as lawyers. We have 2 already before the Legal Practitioners Committee. Through their presentation of cases, we find that somebody is actually not even a qualified lawyer. Please, can I just say this to you under integrity? Don't ruin your life, your career before you even begin it. No matter what someone may tell you or how well they may pump you up to say, no, if you're winning, so you can come and do this, you find yourself in serious, serious problems. So these are serious issues about integrity. You are not legal counsel. You cannot call anybody in this room senior counsel, junior counsel. That is titles reserved to those who have passed and have been called to the bar. It's a term of endearment. I know it's hard, but just stop it. These are the things, I know it's weird, that I find put people in problems. Hey, but senior counsel, no, he's in 3rd year. Huh? My lady, no, she's a repeater. But they give you an air, and people respect the legal profession, huh? And it can bring problems to you. Sooner or later, you find yourself doing things, giving legal advice. You're not allowed on Facebook or otherwise. You're not. Don't go and work for a company that calls you legal secretary. There are laws that actually dictate who can be a council secretary or board secretary. You have to be a qualified lawyer and or accountant. Did you know that? You can't just be a lawyer. I've got an LLB, I'm working for this company, I'm the legal secretary. Anyway. No. And you know what happens at the LPC? They report you. You'll be blacklisted from LAS, and because I'm on the LPC, ZIALE as well. There's no way. Remember what I said, character, suitability. I won't allow you. And I will lobby my board not to allow you, because you're already displaying a character that is not befitting. Don't cheat people. Don't cheat yourself. Okay? Don't be roped into and convinced into doing things that are not correct just because you have an LLB or you are a repeater or you're at ZIALE. We are not there yet. The time will come and all these things will be before you. Some of them are no, it will come. Okay? Just don't rush for it. You're still crawling. You'll be now jogging. By the time you're sprinting, trust me, even me who's been over 20 years at the bar, I am still learning. So the journey continues. It doesn't end here, nor at ZIALE, and even after 5 years at the bar. It's still very much there. So please, this is a very clear sound warning. We have very serious issues with young, unqualified men and women purporting or carrying themselves out to be legal professionals and giving advice. We don't allow that at all. So please remember these things. Remember that you're entering into a very sober but extremely exciting profession. One that will open doors that perhaps you never even imagined. Some things that will help you fulfill some of your most deepest desires, whether it is for money, 20 years after you've qualified, not 1 year after qualification. There's a lot of hard work before you get there. It will allow you to fulfill your desires of giving back. Some of you will be lawyers, you'll be lecturers, you'll be advocates in NGOs, you'll be the one at the police post, helping, doing advocacy and human rights work. You may be the one in the bank or the international conglomerate or corporation or KCM or FQM dealing and brokering on behalf of your institution, And you might be the one who just works pro bono. You just pick up files from Legal Aid Board because it pleases you as you raise your little family. There are many ways in which all of you will end up here, some of which is not very much anticipated. Sometimes we stumble upon these things as we learn more. We understand more about ourselves and who we are and what our passion is. And the beauty of this subject that you're studying is how wide, how vast, how varied it is. How much skills you learn from here all the way to ZIALE. How sought after your degree is. How all of you must realize that we are everywhere in every single profession in this entire world. There's nowhere where there's no lawyer. So understand the privilege of where you are and what you're doing. Fight for quality where you are. Expect the same at ZIALE. Let us know, tell us where we're going wrong. Because you deserve the best. You deserve the quality because you are doing an important job. It's an important profession. And please, whatever you do, wherever you are, whatever the level you're at, never ever forget how important and how respected you are in society. So dress and look the part. Make people understand that, bank na slim suits, that one must be a lawyer. They do say that. You may not even be aware of it. Some of you who are coming here, who were actually stuck to the dress code, somebody somewhere said, we are used to that. It's normal. I am identified sometimes by the way I dress. Just simply, you must be a lawyer. Yes, I am. How did you know? You look like a penguin. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's a compliment. So, sharp, clean, decorum, integrity, hard work, focus. ZIALE is not insurmountable. There are hundreds, as I've demonstrated, who have done it. Some of you in here may not end up even there. Things may change in your life, and it's fine. But those of you who are going to reach the promised land, do so with determination. I will repeat, you have found your focus. Now please, please, can you just focus on your focus? Thank you very much.
Can we please give her another round of applause? I think I was taken back to my ZIALE days, and as I sat there, I remembered the fright she was talking about and the terror that I went through. So I am glad that I am in the promised land. I hope some of you will join us soon. So, as we give the ma'am a few minutes to recollect, this is the time that we're going to have for questions. So, we are going to pass around the mic. You just have people raise your hands if you have a question. The mic. The emphasis is decorum. Let us be respectful as we ask these questions. And please, to my students and those who I don't lecture, let us ask intellectual questions. Are we clear? So can I have someone just assist me going around with the mic? Okay. So she's been standing for a while. I will be giving her the mic so that she can ask. Yeah. Are you sure?
I'm fine. Like I said, I lectured for many years. I cannot imagine talking to students and sitting. So please do ask away.
Thank you, ma'am, for this opportunity, and it's a pleasure to be standing in front of you today. Throughout your speech, I think my question was answered gradually and slowly, but I still have a few queries. Firstly, on the part where you talked about fitness, character, yes, you did mention that throughout your speech that the behavior of an individual does speak to the fitness or character of whether he or she is eligible to enter ZIALE. You also mentioned the fact that ZIALE does cater for students or individuals with disabilities. Now, my query is, does the fitness character give a literal sense as well, whereby you mentioned that there are cases where individuals face severe dyslexia? So how does the board actually decide on who is fit in the literal sense as well? Thank you.
Very, unfortunately, this is dying on me, but yeah. A very good point. Yes, that discussion has always come up in our, not only in the board, but in the committee that has been set up to consider applications of disabled students. And indeed, the same board is actually working on our policy around students with disabilities or differently abled. You try to be very politically correct when you say these ones overall. And yes, truthfully, I always believe that there is a certain level of disability that even the individual would know that I can never practice as a lawyer. There's some demands of the profession, other than litigation, etc., which may hamper you and your ability to progress in your own career. Are we going to tell you if your disability is manageable, don't do the course? No. That's why it's discussed. And you are, again, the issue of suitability comes in. If the disability, which we've never had a situation like that, truly severe, and we know that this person will never succeed in this career, we can advise. So, but we've never actually come across that. All of the disabilities that we've had so far, physical, can't write, scribe, type, a transcriber, have been things that we were able to do. But you're right, for sure. If you really want to look at it in that manner, yeah, I think that individually you may find yourself, even by yourself, realizing that this may not be for me, based on my disability. Now, one of the key ones, we discussed this extensively, was the gentleman who presented severe dyslexia. So he had been diagnosed from secondary school, he did his education abroad, and all the way through to university, they took that into consideration. So when he redid, because we can request that you actually be reassessed. I think the University of Zambia has got a fantastic a department that does that. And they found the same diagnosis, and they had some recommendations on how to do so. The question in that committee was, what if it's so severe that perhaps he's unable to read, he cannot write? Because there are those who are quite severe. Their words are jumbled up, their E's are backwards. Even just as they're seeing things, they can't write properly. What if it's so bad that it hampers his career? And the question was raised as to whether we have the right to stop him. And the answer was, at that time, was no. We facilitate what we can for him. The rest will be up to him and how he copes with his own profession outside of that. But yeah, unfortunately, there can be some that are very severe that really and truly, the suitability issue can come into question. I agree there. Absolutely.
Thank you for the opportunity. I wish to ask on the subject that you touched on myth.
Yes.
Where you mentioned a point where it states ZIALE is run by the cartel of lawyers. Well, I came across a similar myth which states to say why the reason why a few students pass at every given opportunity, end of exams, it's because maybe it's a measure of it's one way which ZIALE has taken up to maintain a small number of lawyers on the market at one point. That's the reason why we have got very less numbers that qualify to the bar. I wish to get clarity on that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the myth, isn't it? The restriction. And yet, as a country, we are crying for more lawyers. The targets for this year for me on the 8th National Development Plan through ZIALE, I think is 89 to 10,000. Can you imagine? So the numbers of lawyers needed in this country is high. The talk I talked about in Ghana, the subject was mass production. Is it a good thing or bad thing? And at the end of my presentation, I said mass production can never be bad, especially when you look at it for case by case, each country. Look at our country, all right? We've just come out of very peaceful, amazing elections. We have a new government whose manifesto I hope you have all read as citizens, not just lawyers. Okay, it's your job and your duty to do this thing. Read it. It's not big, and it's not even big English. Just read it. And so, you read their manifesto, you understand what they're aiming for. You realize as a country that we need to have economic growth, stimulation, all of that kind of stuff. We had a slump. The slump meant that government stopped hiring as much as they did. In my time, everybody was scouted. It's like we were special. People used to come and talk. Oh, no, come to Ministry of Justice, come to... They were begging for us to go to work for them, rather than now where you are the ones who are begging and knocking on their doors. Is this going to stay the same? No. The economy is going to turn around. The plans are for decentralization. We've been hearing that for over 10 years, yes? It's been slowly being actualized, and I believe with this government even more so and more faster. There are talks of having assistant attorney generals in every district or province. offices open there. We've already started to see the judiciary decentralized. They appointed 4 judges who went Solwezi, Mansa. Do you know that's manpower that's going to follow them? That's Legal Aid Board, that's NPA, who's also already begun the decentralization process. So there will be a time when this so-called mass production is actually going to be absorbed. There will be a time when these so-called restrictions, which I don't believe in them, are actually going to show up. Everybody that actually has argued the case of cartels, that it's not the case. That all of the lawyers who are waiting in the wings to get a proper job will get a job. That the economy is going in a direction, not only for the public sector, but even the private sector, that will mean more jobs are going to open up. Each and every one of you will be needed, and you will be absorbed in the next 5 years or so. Okay? What can you do? My question so much is not so much the restriction, because the other side of that is that I've had complaints that there are too many. It's weird. But for me, it's the innovation in the industry, innovation in the legal profession. What are we going to do to modernize the legal profession? When you look at the laws, Legal Practitioners Acts and its rules, it's quite restrictive in what you, as a practicing lawyer, can do and cannot do. Your ability to partner with foreign firms, for instance, is restricted. Should we be looking at allowing you to innovate and grow by being partners with South Africa, Namibia, and Botswana? We are a hub of investment. We have such resources. We are going to be attracting foreign investment. Surely our law firms should be able to work with and share profits with other law firms outside of this country. We should be able to double up and have 50, 30, 20, 25 fee earners, not just one man and his briefcase. Law firms need to have the ability to expand and grow and employ more learner legals, more qualified lawyers, more fee earners. 6 partners in a law firm should be normal. Having 50 fee earners should be normal. I don't know whether we're even hitting 30. Is that Chibesa Kundan Company? I can't remember which law firm has about 20 or so fee earners. That's probably the biggest. If you go across just Namibia, we're talking about 60, 120. Big law firms. Worse still when you go to America and the UK. So why can't we grow in that manner? So I don't think, my dear, there's a cartel. I don't think it's in this government's best interest to watch an institution so, the job of the institution so big, actually play around with the economy of this country and the future of this country in that manner, if you understand fully how important a lawyer is. It's not possible. It's not. And you would have seen that we would have been scattered, disbanded, whatever you want to call it, a long time ago if that was the case. No one can stand by and watch human rights abuse or lack of access to justice, no constitutionalism, no rule of law in the country because we are trying to be funny about it. Listen, my take on private law firms is simply this. The same way you can't go to ShopRite and tell them just because you like Butro, can you please reduce the price to 30 kwacha? It's the same way you can't tell a law firm not to charge you exorbitantly. It's their nature. They are a private company. Their aim is for profit. They're not offering, merit goods like government. No. They're there to make money, ultimately. Please don't forget that. You go in as an entrepreneur into a law firm. Your aim is not to be a charitable organization, it's to make money. That's who they are. You, amongst yourselves, will choose that direction of your life, if that's what you want. Others will go to the meritorious ones, the merit good givers, the government, the NGOs, the do-gooders, the humanitarians. You do that as well. But please, let's not try and color a private enterprise into what it's not. They're for profit. That's what they are. So they will charge you 30p minimum for their services. If you can't afford it, please go to Legal Aid Board. They'll do it for you at a very small fee. I think it's like 150 kwacha or something. Go there and get there. So what is government supposed to do in that situation, which again dispels the myth, is that they're supposed to have sufficiently qualified lawyers so that they can employ them at Legal Aid Board. So we don't have just 20-something. We should have hundreds, and they should be scattered all over the country in offices representing poor, indigent people so that they can have access to justice. These are key targets in government. And I think if we had a cartel that was trying to be restrictive, it wouldn't be the case. And don't forget, our teaching faculty is 11. Even if you could bribe 11 people, honestly, good luck. And then, other than that, they don't even mark the papers. They just set the exam paper. Sadly, they give it to me in writing. literally handwritten. I type it myself. I proofread it with the lecturer. That's it. That's his job done. The exam, we conduct it. Once the exam is done, those papers go to an external marker. The external marker finishes, it's assessed by somebody else. That's a lot of people to control, don't you think? To try and restrict and try to tell them, fail the students. It's a lot of people. And each one of these, if I tell you who the markers are, like I said, don't tell them, secrets, but not really. But there's such a wide range of people from government to private sector, you know, they're wide range. And that applies also to my assessors. Again, plethora, motley crew from different industries, all of whom have got very high experience. All of these are the people that deal with those question papers. And ultimately, their contribution results in the results that you see and that we collect and we publish. It's not controllable, my dear, at all. I would really want you to rest assured that that's not the case, ever. It's not possible.
Thank you, ma'am.
I won't forget you.
And my apologies for not being...
I think it's the angle. Sometimes
Yes,
you're going.
my apologies for not being in order, but with the application of what you've taught us, it takes confidence to stand up and ask a question. So my question is about entry requirements. You talked about, you mentioned a number of entry requirements, but you didn't talk about the age, the minimum and maximum age. Then
We don't, weirdly. Good question.
Then
So I wonder if we had a genius who finished law degree at 14. I think we have to take him in, honestly. Yeah. We don't have restrictions on age.
All right, okay. Then it's also about the price. You were talking about the institution being there for profit. So my question is about the prices. Okay, coming to the cash book, you were talking about the heads. So coming to...
Very brave young man.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, so
go on.
coming to...
So you want to know how much we charge?
Right,
Right, currently we are, I think it's 28,000 for the course. Yeah. Those are the questions that are really key. Thank you so much for asking that.
with regards to that,
Hold on, let the young man finish, yeah.
with regards to that, does the same price have a negative effect on the number of people that are joining the...
Maybe that's the cartel line, the price. I'm pricing, we're pricing out a certain number of, yes, for sure. There are people who don't immediately come to ZIALE from graduating. They may have to wait it out a year or two to be able to get the amount of money needed to come to ZIALE. And is that unusual? No. Law is not a cheap course. I don't think it's cheap at undergraduates. I don't think it's definitely cheap at the level where you're doing your bar examinations. That's across the board overall. And this is in areas where perhaps they're still regulated, but they still pay quite a high price. And for us at ZIALE, it's not just the 28,000 whatever plus. It's also the fact that you need to also get the uniform, man. And that's not cheap. The suits, the shoes, the ties, okay? The transport to and from, we're very conscious of all of these things overall. We are also conscious of the fact that when in the 90s, you had accommodation, you were fed, there was a bus that took you to ZIALE and took you back to your dorms at Evelyn Horn. There was like a section that was just, a dorms that was set out just for ZIALE. That ended about 92,000, I think, 99, no more. So, you are now on your own. These are the issues that are there. You are on your own. What's worse is that you may even have a bursary while you're at undergraduate. It even gets cut off once you get your LLB. And they expect you to continue by yourself. And yet, I always argue with a higher education loans board that but you do the same for medical students. Medical students do their theory. You still pay them. When they go to Ridgeway, you still pay them. That's practicals. That's exactly what you're doing at ZIALE for 1 year. So why can't the sponsorship of a student extend to completion of ZIALE. They're considering it. They said it's a professional exam, it's their choice. No, it's not a choice. Your destination is completion of ZIALE. Your career progression does not just end here, it is included plus ZIALE. That's the expectation overall. So yes, there's a very high cost. And I think when you look at all of these issues that I've said, it does definitely block or keep out a certain number of people. People will consider and think twice before saying, can I study law? How much is a university degree going to cost me? Then comes ZIALE. Then comes all the added expenses to be able to get to this profession. But, and I will be honest with you, it is expensive everywhere. Just because we are a statutory body, providing this course does not mean we can subsidize it to that extent. We can't. We have very limited funding, and we are mandated to offer courses, which means we are supposed to make our money to be able to support our operations overall. That's just the way it is, sadly. Do I, in my personal capacity, think ZIALE should be highly subsidized? Yes, and then no, okay? Yes, if you qualify like a bursary, you should not really come to ZIALE and pay 28,000 kwacha. Those of you who can, who do not qualify for bursary, should pay at that point. Education cannot be offered free entirely. Even the University of Zambia has found itself in problems because of this idea of subsidizing and not really paying the true cost of what you, the privilege of studying law. So it's a debatable issue overall. And I think one that will, I don't know if it will ever be solved in that sense. I don't know if if we can engage, for instance, my only thing, which I've engaged Higher Loans Board before, is just extend the bursary to all the way through to ZIALE. That's one thing that can help. Overall, unfortunately, the way things are and the way we are run and the way we are set up, we need to charge that money to get there. Even in my time, we paid. And I remember that how was I after flunking third year coming back? To about 22, 23. And when I got to ZIALE, my father struggled. He was a colonel, he's a retired colonel in the army, to come up with those fees. That was then. I won't tell you when, but my gray hairs will probably tell me away anyway. And he paid. And when I got the job at the judiciary at the time sponsored you entirely. They took on the fees, they paid, and ZIALE refunded me. My father was so happy when I gave him back the school fees. It was high even then. He was so pleased because he never paid anything at UNZA. I was on, you had the bursary, and bursary at that time almost 90% of got it. Government was very generous. And then ZIALE, he had to fork out. It was very hard. He was a civil servant. Being a colonel doesn't mean that you're rich either. So there are struggles overall, and the struggles have been there before. Has ZIALE ever been fully subsidized where students go for free? I think probably in the early years, but somewhere along the years, it became more cash-oriented, started to charge. I suspect because government funding also began to withdraw. And they began to tell them, do this. And I suspect probably around the 2009, 1996 era, because that's when the act changed. No longer just about LPQE and legislative drafting, it now said offer training courses. I think that's where the attitude towards statutory bodies changed. And this attitude is not just under the Ministry of Justice. Many statutory bodies are requested, even worldwide, to start funding themselves more, find ways of making money rather than depending on the coffers of government where money is considered to be scarce. So it's a difficult one. I do sympathize.
In the interest of time, we'll only take 3 last.
If you can ask about fees, I think anyone can ask any question. Yeah. No, we wouldn't allow that jacket at ZIALE.
Sorry,
Just
madam.
joking, don't worry about me. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for the nice presentation. I'm honored to stand before you today. So my question actually has 3 segments. I am a foreign student. Yeah, I'm from Malawi. But I still have this fantasy where I would like to start my own practice back home and extend it here, to the point of actually one day standing in the both the Malawian court and the Zambian court. Yeah, so my question is actually based on the fact that I have a grade 2 improve O-level certificate from my country.
Yes.
So I want to ask, would you consider it in the same way that Cavendish considered mine to allow me to be a student here? And then later on, let's say I even have the opportunity to be attached to a certain firm in Zambia. I have a principal and all that. I wrote your exams and I even passed them.
Yeah.
Are you going to allow me to move to and fro? I go to my country, I practice there, I come here, I practice again.
Yeah. As
Yeah.
long as you've qualified in this jurisdiction, for sure. For sure, because you've met our minimum, our entry requirements, our entry into the industry requirements, you've passed ZIALE, you're good. And your foreign O-level certificate, you just equate it at ECZ. Very minimal amount. ECZ still has that function of equating. Those Zambia qualifications, the one who authenticates your degree, your grade 12. But you go there, you show them your, whether it's Cambridge or whatever, whether it's Malawian standard of O-levels and the like, they equate the same for you. And so they'll give you a certificate of conversion, they'll convert your grades equivalent to Zambian, and you're good to go. You've already started with your law degree. When you come to ZIALE, you will be allowed, by virtue of the fact that you have a common law degree from a public university or a private university, you can enter ZIALE. Depending on your immigration status, you'll be charged foreign fees or local fees. Refugees generally do not pay, and I know Malawi, you're not a refugee, foreign fees. So that will demand to see your citizenship or your papers or your naturalization or maybe your residency. That will determine whether you're going to pay foreign or otherwise fees. But otherwise, you're free to finish ZIALE here, and for sure. Now, this is where you can challenge LAZ. The issue of you opening a law firm in Malawi and Zambia. At the moment, you have to separate the two entirely. So the joining of, joint tasks, joint ventures, business from Malawi coming to Zambia, Zambia, Malawi going to there, and the law firm in Malawi handling business this side. Those are the blurred areas that LAZ really needs to fix and change its laws around working with foreign law firms and sharing of profits as well with non-qualified persons in the jurisdiction. But yes, you are absolutely, you've got a path all the way through to ZIALE. No worries at all. Yeah, try. It's just the angle. We have the same problems at ZIALE here. There you go.
Start by appreciating.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, I would like to start by appreciating. The fact that in my fourth year, I've had an opportunity to be part of that presentation.
Yeah.
You mentioned something about
Being, sorry, say again. A student being, just say it again, I just missed that bit.
you mentioned something about students being complained about when they are
Yes.
applying to study
Yeah,
at
the
ZIALE.
suitability, fitness.
Yeah.
Have you got something you're hiding, young lady?
Not
No, go on.
necessarily that,
Yeah.
but we understand the environments we come
Yes.
from. There are people who would just complain about you, and I want to understand what your office employs to verify such information.
Oh, we do the normals. It's like a hearing of some kind. Once a complaint comes before us, we expect that the whistleblower, in inverted commas, also is willing to come up and testify if is there evidence. This is what I said about social media, video taking, recordings, etc., things like that, that can come through. And those are the things we expect a person who's whistleblowing. I say it in inverted commas because it's almost like you're snitching on somebody, but you're considered a whistleblower because you're doing us a service by warning us about a person and their character. So that person needs to bring evidence. Yes, we will call you in. You've applied to us, so we'll definitely call you in. The council will set up a committee that will then call you in, show you what they've got, really establish that this is what the situation really is, and then make a decision based on that work. But for sure, but please, and this, you know why I say this, I've never said this to anybody, even the students that come to mind, is because the age of social media, mobile phones, is a very different climate to us when we're coming through. All our sins are buried in memory. Some people don't even remember what we did or what we said because we had no way of recording anything. But today, unfortunately, Yeah, there's a lot that's being stored in people's phones, on hard drives, you know, on the recesses of Facebook and Twitter, which can be dug up and used against you at any time. So your decorum is very, very important. So yes, we'll go through a very transparent and open procedure of hearing your case, presenting the evidence, and then making a decision, something that even the courts of law would not argue with us in our process. So don't forget, people, as I said when I presented, people forget that bit. The council can decide to kick you out, restrict your comings based on that. And the council has restricted people who are already at ZIALE. We have a student who has been convicted of fraud. In between writing the first attempt and coming to repeat, has even served 3 months. Bye. We have people in positions of trust and fiduciary in the government who have, we had one, I think, even cheated at UNZA in an exam, was excluded, then finished somewhere else. As long as that evidence comes to us, no. That's it. So small things like that, huh? Have you cheated? Have you been kicked out of UNZA, then you come quickly to Cavendish to finish? Will UNZA, when they hear that you are there, because we publish the lists, come and write to us and say that guy is not fit or that girl is not fit, their character is questionable, you will be kicked out and you will be banned for life. So we do have scenarios like that where people have done certain unsavory things which are not considered good for the profession, which are considered to, will cause damage to the reputation to do so. And the other thing I wanted to also tell you about reputation, please don't pay too much heed to the few qualified lawyers that do bad things or are alleged to do fraudulent, wrong things. Please don't. It's not everybody. We're almost, like I said, we've passed, almost 3,000 have passed through the door. We're talking about a handful. It does not speak to the profession, which is still very stiff, very old-fashioned, you know, still very, very finicky about behavior, and will still sort you out no matter what if you just step out of line. Don't forget that, no matter what. So do not fall on those examples of people who, just like any other profession, just decide to misbehave. We have rumors of HR practitioners who don't do very well. They demand sex from people who are coming into the client, into jobs. They promote only certain types of, these people also misbehave in their professions. And they even have an association that regulates them. So it's not just lawyers. It's not just, even the accountants can be naughty. Even, you know, economists can be naughty. So don't focus on those. Don't glamorize them either. It's the most disgraceful thing to be stripped of something that you've worked for, no matter how clever you might think you are. There's nothing. I've seen grown men cry when the LPC suspends and then the disciplinary committee upholds and recommends you to be stricken. Even those words, they even make me shake. Stricken off the roll of practitioners. Grown men and women cry. It's a lot. Don't waste it. People admire you. Your family is proud of you. Don't throw it away over frivolous stupidity. Please, this one I'm employing because I begin to see the trend sitting on the Legal Practitioners Committee of young lawyers just messing up. We had one who literally was just a month after being called to the bar. 1 month, Bane. Think about it, after all of that. And the question was asked by the convener, how long have you been at the bar? 1 month. I mean, people. And who was, you sit there and you realize that they are being duped by the senior so-called. Oh, just sign here. No, don't worry. This is okay. It's fine. You can also sign there. Really? Can you? Be wise.
Good afternoon, madam. It's an honor to be here. I want to find out about the graduating class of 2022 who are about to receive their bachelor's towards the end of the year. Are we applicable to still apply for this intake, or we have to wait for next year?
No, this intake. You're very much ready to do so. Remember what I said. We tend to talk to your deans. We know when your graduation is. You have your transcript, isn't it? Transcripts which say cleared or passed or completed. We also take that. Then we wait for that degree certificate to come through. And then we're happy to do that. We've been doing that for years, actually, to be honest with you. We do say you need your LLB and your transcript, but for entry purposes, and you get this acceptance as conditional on you having a graduation certificate. But to be honest, I think all of us know that when you finish, your things are marked. When you collect your transcript, it actually says completed, isn't it? If you haven't finished, it will say incomplete. That's already an indication that you have your LLB, and you're just waiting to have your graduation ceremony and then be able to get your certificates at that time. So yes, I would expect nothing less than an application from all of you to come through. And I look forward to actually having them. And even those of you behind, please work hard and join the lot. And then we'll publish how well you're doing. And Cavendish has been one that has sometimes surprised us at ZIALE. I remember before I came to ZIALE, I think it was 2016? Was it 2016, Dean, that you had a large number? The largest, 12 or so. They were coming in from Cavendish. So there are moments of greatness that you need to now make sure that they're happening every year. The universities are coming to a level playing field now after many years of struggling. I know UNZA is the best. No, maybe not. So, understand that the level playing field is there. The school has worked hard to reach standards that needs to be able to be considered a good university. I think you're now in tier 1 as well, isn't it? Brilliant. Together with UNZA, So the sky's the limit as far as your school growing, and equally the ability of you to be able to learn and absorb as much as you can from these universities. Things are changing. The landscape is changing. I look forward. There's somebody who came in here from Rockview. Rockview, gentlemen, where are you? Yes, Rockview. Please stand up, because I think people don't know that there's a university called Rockview. Did you know? And they have a law department now, And this gentleman will be coming through. And I sincerely hope that you do your university proud and you come through and clear at first attempt.
Unfortunately, I think the students will not be happy about this, but unfortunately, we have come to the end of our session because there's supposed to be a class in here.
Or doesn't attend, or doesn't have attachment.
Yes, I can quickly go through this one. I think I really want to go through this one. One question was mentor and no law firm. If you don't show proof of being attached to a law firm or an organization, you can't come in. It's a condition of entry. It's an entry requirement like your grade 12. You have to have a letter and proof of attachment. No. Splitting courses like, can I do 5 and then come back 2 years later and do... No. It's one whole thing at one go. Foreigners, I wish I knew, but it's quoted in dollars. But I will definitely leave a number where you can find out. It's not in kwacha, it's always in dollars. Yeah. And then the clarity of 20K is, no, not per head. Are we crazy? 28,000 kwacha per head? No. The entire course. No. No. Oh, I'm so sorry if I misrepresented. Please, it's the entire year, the whole thing. Oh, hairstyle. You guys, this question is amazing for me. Yes. So, red hair, no. This is not allowed. Even at cold day, I will kick you out of the courtroom. I'll tell you, are you serious? Haven't we taught you enough? So, colored hair, no. Okay? There's always a debate. As you've seen me. I'm a natural hairstylist person. And there are people who do twists that are natural. They have dreadlocks that are nice. And unfortunately, it's not me. It's the practice direction. The courts, I can say, sure, you've got nice, neat head. I'm talking to females. I haven't reached you guys first. Dreads that you can even put in a nice bun and you look really professional. I've seen that. But when you go to court, I like to be the magistrate that will look at you and just say, I can't see you. Do we understand what it means when they say that? Bye. You go to a chamber application, a judge will scrutinize and say, are those dreads? Yes, I can't see you. So it's not us. It is the standard set by the courts. They do not like dreads, more so in men. They really hate that. All of you have to be boring, really low cuts, no Rick Rosses. Please avoid the Rick Rosses, because some of you with your Rick Ross beards, Mandin, even at ZIALE, I've even said, you can't commit. Even put some oily and trim. No, I don't know. So some of those, sometimes the courts can be a bit finicky. I say the red ties because I've known magistrates that have kicked out our students for red ties. That's why I always advise. Ambassador Mumbakapumpa tends to do a talk about your dress code. He says he doesn't mind maroon and red. But I know from the correspondence we get from the judiciary that some judges and some magistrates do not like the red tie. So avoid it. Don't cause problems and agitate people overall. And remember, it happened to me once that I was so busy, I was hot, and I took off my jacket, and I was waiting to go into chambers. And I just rushed in with my jacket on my arm, the way I was kicked out unceremoniously. I was not robed properly. So a jacket is a must. Always ask permission when you get in to say, Judge, I am very hot. Can I take off my jacket? Or, Honorable Magistrate, Your Worship, may I take off my jacket? Then they give you the permission. We expect the same in class as well. When you come into a physical class, it's a hot October day, just ask permission through your class rep. Yeah, don't just take off and, it's, you find yourself in serious problem. This is the decorum we're talking about. Always ask permission. Don't assume that even the judge is hot, so even me, he must know I'm hot. We've had situations where students have been asked about the length of the skirts, especially the ladies, and we had a serious complaint from a lawyer because it started to border on sexual harassment as far as she was concerned. Why? Because the male lawyer said, please, can you stop wearing that short skirt? And she responded, but why are you looking at my legs? I am not sexist, but I do believe you know the dress code. And I say this even for you males and those slim fit jeans. Those jeans were designed, the jackets were designed by somebody the same way mini skirts and tight trousers are designed for a purpose. They are to enhance your features. So do not assume that as a man in a slim fit suit, as fit as you are not being provocative in your dress. That is a lie. It's a lie. It emphasizes, you know what I'm saying. The same way a woman in a dress that's too tight or a trousers that is extremely tight also does not hide much for those who are watching you. So I always say to the gentlemen, it is not just women that can be sexualized. Even you men, by whoever decided to come up with a slim fit suit, is equally sexualizing you. Equally. And maybe not even for us ladies to admire. Have you thought about that? Okay? So anyway, clothes are clothes. I have nothing against all of those suits. I'm just warning you that try to get suits that fit well. Know your size. I know my size. You're not going to find me forcing myself into a trousers. I know what my size is. You should know your size. Buy according to your size. I believe even the slim fit suits, if you buy your size, it should fit in a way that doesn't strangle all your essential parts. Simple, okay? Buy your size, simple. That's all. And of course, go and get the outfits, they're there. The length of skirts, boring old, pencil skirts above, just at the knee or below the knee, and the like. Like I said, we are really not happy with and I have them, but I can wear them, you can't. The 3/4, don't touch my ankle kind of trousers, especially for the guys, it just looks so off. The courts don't allow that either as well, by the way. So you will be kicked out of a courtroom because you are wearing the modern don't touch my ankle male suit, which is slim fit and is a size too small. Need I go on? But I think you begin to understand about the old-fashionedness of the profession that I talked about. You'll be judged really quite harshly around that, how you behave, how you dress overall. I'm not saying don't have a life, please. I have a life at the weekend. Okay, you won't see me at Chicago's, no, but I do have a life. But it's how you perform, how you conduct yourself even in that life. So if it's the ladies, if you're going to go falling over drunk at kitchen parties, vomiting in the garden bush or something, you have a problem. And the same applies to guys. Just it's how you can still go to G Greens and have a drink, but it's how you behave when you're there, what you say, and your conduct. People write letters, guys. You don't understand. They write, and they talk about you, especially when you come to ZIALE, and especially when you qualify. So please, guard yourselves well. Guard yourselves well. I think there's another one.
When you repeat a head, you have to pay again.
Yes, heads I think are at 350 or 450 when it comes to repeaters, and you pay. So if you failed, your 28,000 covers your exam fees for starters. So when you come through to repeaters, if you've got 4 heads, you pay for 4. You can't pay for 2. We don't allow that because we know the record. You have to pay for all of the heads because, as I said, when you come in, you can't break the course into chunks and take 3 heads and then come back next year and sit. No. So all of them. So if you've got 6 heads, you pay for 6. Each head has got to be paid for fully. The law now requires that you must attend 12 weeks of revision classes. We charge for those revision classes because we've got to pay those lovely lecturers to come in and teach you for that period. So every repeaters exam since the law came into force last year, 2021, signed by the Honorable and wonderful Mr. Given Lubinda, requires you to come in 12 weeks mandatory revision classes. If you don't pay for and attend, you won't write the repeaters. So you've got to pay for the courses, you've got to attend the 12 weeks class, and then you come and sit for the repeaters exam overall. So those are the charges that you would expect beyond the first initial big fee of 28,000. After that is just per head, and of course attendance for the classes. Now, please, for those in 4th year, I did mention the manuals. The manuals are going to be charged at a real minimum. I think we're trying to aim to do much less than the ACCA. And it's going to be part of your fees. You cannot not pay for the manuals. You have to buy them the way all professional courses do. You buy their manuals as well. So once you pay the fees, they're inclusive of manuals, you collect them, you go home with them. So those in 4th year coming through this year, we pray that the manual processing, the making will be ending at the 2nd quarter, which is, when does the 2nd quarter end? April, May, June? So we're hoping by June we'll have them done. And when you're enrolling, as you are paying your fee, you are coming to collect not only your statutes, which you also pay for, but the manuals as well will be inclusive in the fees and the like. So please, fingers crossed, we finish them in time for your intake. But even if we don't manage, trust me, within that quarter of your intake, you'll receive your manuals as well. So all of the lecturers, some of them are outsourced and hired, are working very hard to complete these textbooks, I can call them, or study manuals, as we call them as well. So expect that. No worries at all. I think that was all of the extra questions. Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, with that note, we've come to the end of our session. I know a lot of us still have burning questions, so we're going to allow you a chance, if you still need to ask these questions, to put them in writing, and then we'll send them over to ZIALE. When they're ready, they can respond to you. I will ask the Dean of Law School to come and give the closing remarks. I think we can clap better than that. Wow, what a session. You know, I've sat in that hall before at ZIALE. She's not as friendly as she looks here, I must say. Because each morning when you go for class and anyone walks in, you stand up the way you used to do at primary school. Not what you do here when you have lectures. A lecturer walks in, you don't even stand up. Then they come to inspect what you are wearing. If you're not properly dressed, you are chased out of class. So if you think that I'm very tough with you when it comes to dressing, I believe that charity begins at home. So expect me to be coming to your classes. Actually, after this lecture, I've been even more motivated. Don't wait for me to chase you. When you just see me coming, if you're not properly dressed, kindly walk out of class. That is the rule. Thank you so much, Director. That was a wonderful lecture, and I know that we've all learned a lot, and I only hope that we're going to apply those principles that have been taught to us. I don't know if you can share the slides so that we can circulate it amongst the students. Thank you so much. A great appreciation goes to the School of Law lecturers who've been extremely helpful and supportive to the students. And to our Vice Chancellor, Deputy Vice Chancellor, and our executive director behind this branding and carrying the broadcast live on our Facebook page. You can clap for him as well. Of course, with his team, Masiliso is one of the members, Joshua, and also the ZIALE IT team. You know, I didn't expect them to respond this way. They used to call me almost every day just to make sure that everything is in place. I think of all the guest lectures that we've had, this one is the best and most well attended. So I would say the future is very bright for us. And even you as students will give you the much support that is needed. Without saying much more, we'll take a few photos with the lecturers and just few students. I'm sorry, we can't manage to take photos with everyone, but just lecturers and then a few students. We did not open with a prayer. Perhaps we can close with a prayer. Mr. Tole, you can close for us. Okay, that's good.
Let us pray. Lord Almighty, we come before you to thank you for this very wonderful session which was given. We hope that everything that has been said will assist us to progress forward and assist our students to go forward as they face the challenges of ZIALE. We also pray that the lecturers for both ZIALE and for Cavendish University will have taken a leaf of what has been said and will assist in promoting the issues which are involved in the law studies, both at ZIALE and at Cavendish University. With this, we pray that God will bless us and allow us to travel well from where we came from. For all this, we pray in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Come pursue your dreams in our state-of-the-art learning environment with lecturers who care about your success. Expose yourself to learning resources designed to prepare you to succeed whether you choose employment or entrepreneurship. Cultivate your career at Cavendish University and enjoy everything that a practical, high-quality education has to offer. Study at Cavendish University and start your journey to success.